Hi everyone and welcome back to the Aqua Pod, the Scottish swimming podcast. I just want to say a big thanks to everyone for listening to the first two episodes so far in 2025 in what is set to be a really busy year, both for aquatics in Scotland but also for the Aqua Pod. And we've got loads of exciting content in the pipeline, so please stay tuned for that. This week I had a bit of a competitive catch up with Scottish Swimming National Coach Ian Wright, and we discussed some of the coaching changes across swimming and diving programmes in Scotland, some of the early year performances of our athletes, and we also had a bit of a look ahead to an exciting spring and summer, as well as the 2026 home Commonwealth Games, where there's been lots of exciting news coming out over the past couple of weeks. Hopefully you enjoy the chat on this week's show. Thanks for joining me again on the Aqua Pod, Ian. It's been a wee while, but good to have you back on. How are things with you at the minute?
Yeah, good morning, good afternoon even, Charlie. I think we're in the afternoon now. And yep. I'm good, thank you. Pleasure to be back on the podcast with you. Hope we can make a good one.
Yeah, fingers crossed. I think it usually is quite good when you've been on previously. So looking forward to a bit of a chat about coming few months and kind of things that are going on within performance within Scottish swimming as well. We're obviously still at the start of the year into February now, but lots of things going on. You know, we're at the start of the long course season, and there's quite a lot of change happening within Scottish swimming and within some of our partners as well. So an exciting time to kind of be involved in the sport, isn't it?
It is, yeah. There's obviously everyone looks forward after completing the Paralympic cycle every 4 years. Then people start thinking ahead. Some people start already focusing on 4 years down the road. Other people will be thinking more 2 years maybe towards Commonwealth Games, and I'm sure we'll come back to that later. And then other people were just thinking, right, what's happening this season? How do we go from where we are to where we want to be in the next 3 or 4 months?
Yeah, always opportunities, isn't there, for whoever you are and whatever your goals are. There's opportunities at any time, isn't there?
Yeah, I always think, especially after an Olympic cycle, that the year after that is really a moment for maybe the slightly unknown people or the up and coming juniors to really take a step forward and make their mark. And, because there are different opportunities that spring up from that.
Yeah, and I think we'll probably discuss a little bit later on about some of the junior meets that are on the calendar and the kind of non-senior meets. But I thought we'd start with probably what's been maybe the biggest change in terms of the sort of Scottish programme landscape, and that's Ben Higson joining the University of Stirling as the head coach of their programme, and Stephen Tigg, who's obviously been there for a number of years, joining Aquatics GB. You know, a really exciting change and one that will have an impact on athletes. What's your kind of thoughts on that, Ian, and how has that looked so far in terms of the change for people?
Yeah, it's a very interesting change, and obviously a few weeks into that, with Ben starting just after the World Short Course Championships. But one of the good things for Ben and the program is that he has worked there before. He was coached there from 2013 through to 2017, I think. And so there's a little bit of familiarity for him and some of the people. So it's quite an easy slide back in to the role.
Of course.
Didn't have to learn too much or get to know too many people. Obviously didn't know all the athletes, but he's got to know them now. And they seem to be really taking to his instruction and new ideas he will take forward. And working well, obviously, alongside Brad Hay, the other lead coach in the program, and then Josh and Charlie as well, who are also part of the coaching staff. So it's a good program again, and a good coaching staff now in place after Steve moved on to the GB role, which is obviously exciting for him, but also good for Scotland that a Scottish person has moved into that position.
Yeah, I was going to mention that. It's obviously a positive for Scottish athletes. It's good to have that familiar face, isn't it, for a lot of them that have been coached or have been in the same programme as Steve in the past. So gives that opportunity to maybe, get on teams and be a little bit more involved in kind of that British sort of team as well.
for that, and also it demonstrates for any other aspiring coaches out there that you can follow a traditional route through Scottish clubs and learning your trade in the beginning out as a young assistant coach in a club, and then moving to a main assistant, and then trying your hand at a head coach of a small or medium-sized club, and then moving on, making that program successful, and then moving on to a senior role where you assist, and then you become lead of that. That can happen in Scotland, and then you can, as Steve's shown, if you do well, you can have the opportunity to move into the head coach of GB. So really good career path there. Should hopefully demonstrate to our other coaches that the path for a coach is there if they want to try and pursue that.
Yeah, it's definitely a great story with Steve, isn't it? And, you can see that pathway, working really, really well. And, he's been at Commonwealth Games, he's been at Olympics, he's been at World Champs, and he's had those experiences, but they don't happen without, those opportunities at club level as well, and putting trust in people to have, to take part in these roles and really develop and progress.
Yeah. You have to work hard. You have to work really hard, I think, to have the success. One's ambition is important, and you need that drive to take you forward. You've got to be a curious learner. I think you've got to be willing to go find out things from other people, go try and create opportunities for yourself, spend time with other coaches and learn, and just push for that success. And it's great that Scottish sport and UK sport helps people do that. There are a lot of things you can get involved in that help you move along that pathway.
Absolutely. Touching on the diving side of things, where there's also been a little bit of change in the Edinburgh programme. Olympic coach Adam Smallwood has joined the programme there, and sort of will look to kind of develop that from performance side of things upward. A really positive move, Ian, isn't it? And another sort of good exampleship of partnership working with Aquatics GB and the University of Edinburgh on that one as well, isn't it?
Yeah, well, the position had become vacant with Jen moving herself onto Aquatics GB role, and therefore we talked to partners, and then we talked to Aquatics GB, and going to create some new investment there to change the role a little bit, make it a bit more performance focused, bring University of Edinburgh on board as the key partner who will now employ that role, and ourselves, Edinburgh Leisure and Aquatics GB are all investing into not just the role of Adam, who's a great coach and already starting to do some good things in the programme, but also the positioning of Edinburgh as a key centre for diving, not only within Scotland, but being treated as a UK diving centre that aspiring divers from anywhere in the UK can use as one of their places that they should think about moving to.
Yeah, spot on with that, Ian, I think, and as well with the sort of unfortunate news that diving won't be part of the Commonwealth programme of sports. It gives the sport a bit of a boost, doesn't it, within a Scottish context, that we've attracted a really high profile coach and a quality coach to hopefully bring through that next generation of divers that can hopefully appear at future Olympic Games and potentially Commonwealth Games as well if diving returns to their programme in some capacity in the future.
Yeah, and we see this as a very much a long-term project, at least an 8-year project. It's not just trying to target Los Angeles, but it's going beyond that. And Adam's, although there's some top divers already in Edinburgh, and Adam will make sure they're well looked after. I know his focus is trying to unearth young talent that's there or will move there in the future and bring that through year by year. So that's good for the system.
Yeah, certainly kind of exciting things happening there, and one to keep an eye on over, like you say, the coming years. So we'll certainly do that. Moving back to the kind of the swimming space, we recently sent a team out to Geneva, which you were obviously part of, kind of leading from the head coach point of view. How was that? It was, a development squad that went out with a couple of more senior athletes. Seemed to be some really good performances and results as well.
Yeah, we sent our national junior swimming team to Geneva, as we have done in the past few years. We think it's an important thing for our junior team that we expose them to. It's not an international competition where country versus country, but somewhere where you have to travel to overseas and handle the rigors of flying to a different country, getting around, staying in a hotel with people you've not met recently before, competing in a different environment where not everyone speaks the same language, handling different food situations and meal times and that kind of thing. And the Geneva meet really ticks a lot of the boxes for us in this kind of group, where the learning and the exposure to good class competition is they're going to get that there. It's good enough that they'll be challenged by other international athletes. Some of them senior and Olympic medal winning athletes take part in the meet. But also, if they swim well enough to their best, they'll be able to qualify from the heats into finals or semi-finals and get that second swim exposure per day, which is also really part of the learning process. So it really fits well. It's a good time of the year to do it. I think January. It doesn't clash with too many other things, and they always enjoy it. And I'm pleased to say they had a good time, and
that's good.
They were, well behaved and well performed as well. Because we said to them on the first day, of course we want to come and perform well, get fast times on the board. Some of you will set personal bests, and that's lovely. We'll celebrate that. But what we're really looking for is how you react as swimmers to this different situation. What are your performance behaviours, as we call it, in and around, not just in the water, but in and around the pool, how you warm up, how you recover, how you deal with yourself when you're meeting other people. Are you looking to try and get to your bed on time and early, to get ready for the next day, or do you get distracted by things easily? Looking at how people react to that situation, which is an unfamiliar situation for them. So that performance behaviours is key, because that can give us a lot of information as to what we need to work on going forward, not just in their technique, but in their, as we say, their general behaviour and approach to competition and training. But it's also an important endeavour for coaches as well. We use it as a coach development opportunity. And along with myself there, kind of leading the group, but I'm not doing a lot of coaching when I'm at that event. I'm just kind of overseeing and making sure everything's working all right, along with the team manager. And then we appoint two of our senior coaches in this situation. We had Josh Williamson from Stirling and Matt Trodden from Edinburgh, and they were in charge of the rest of the coaches, if you like. And then we had 5 of those other coaches from clubs around the country, and we see the trip as very much as an important development opportunity for them as well, and learning and upskilling them and improving their ability to deal with that situation.
Do you think as well, it is quite a unique opportunity, isn't it, for coaches like you mentioned there, and also maybe athletes that haven't been on many teams before, kind of almost act as a bit of a catalyst for them, and a bit of an eye-opener that this could be something that I could be involved in more if I can kick on and if I can keep improving and keep developing. Do you often see that it almost lights a spark in some people that I'm good enough to be part of this group and I can continually improve and get better?
Yeah, definitely. I think everyone's different, okay, but on the whole, you see athletes, once they make that for the first time, you can definitely see they want to come back and get it there again and keep getting that opportunity or whatever the next opportunity it is for them. So it does give them that little spark or incentive to like, I want to be part of this again. I don't want to miss out going, in the future. So hopefully that does spur them on to do the right things and keep motivated and work towards doing that. One thing we also did this year with the trip, we had one of our senior athletes go with the team, Stephen Clegg, Paralympic champion, and he raced a couple of events himself, but he wasn't there primarily for his racing. He went there very much on the situation that we talked to him about beforehand, going as like a senior role model, but or a mentor and a guide for the swimmers, and we let him go and talk to the athletes, and let him do some group chats with them where there was no coaches involved. It's just him and some of the younger athletes. He could share his experiences of how he made the progress from being in their position maybe 10, 12 years ago to where he is now, and just trying to use our athletes as well, the senior athletes, to help give back and help our juniors make that same journey.
How important do you think that is to have that kind of leader in place? Then he's a peer, but also he's Stephen's achieved so much in the sport, and that para element as well. That adds a different layer of challenge for Stephen. And is it almost good for maybe some of our able-bodied swimmers to see that and see how he's able to overcome those challenges and cope with those as well?
Yeah, well, there was definitely. I mean, it was a little bit of an experiment, and it was new for him to do. So we were like, let's see how this goes. We'll try it out. We might learn from it ourselves how we can do it better in the future. We might need to have more than one athlete there. But I think particularly when he's able to bring to light some of the situations he's faced and how he's dealt with them, and he's well travelled. He's been to different clubs. He's trained in England and in Scotland, and he's got a lot of international experience to draw down on and things to learn from. There was definitely when he passed some of those stories on, one or two of the juniors did come back and say how grateful they were for that and how they didn't understand or they didn't realise the sort of things that he'd had to do. Obviously, he has a visual impairment, which brings challenges of its own. And not everyone, the others on the team are not visually challenged, but it's still a way to help them understand, well, your challenge might be different, but you can find a way to deal with these things and overcome them.
And a lot of positive experiences there, both in and out the pool for the junior team, and a lot of those guys will be in competition over the coming months, or all will be, in competition over the coming months before trials. We've got the Edinburgh International in Scotland, which is always a really good meet, and before that, in the more kind of senior side and the university side of things, we've got the Bucks Championships as well. Two really good opportunities for swimmers, isn't it, Ian? And we'll be looking for some good performances, I guess, but also just sort of learning opportunities for those guys as they head into the British Championships.
Yeah, it's all about that for most people at the upper end of the sport at the moment. It's using the competitions that are coming up to either prepare for or qualify for the British Championships. Some of the athletes are going to the district events as well. One or two are looking for meets down in England that they've been to. We'll have some others who are going over to the Dave McCulloch meet in Ireland in a week or two's time as well. So you've got all things like that. As you mentioned, all our student athletes, some of us are going to the Bucks Championships next week. They're down in Sheffield, which is a big event. Also, everyone who qualifies for it generally looks forward to going to Edinburgh for the Edinburgh International meet in March. And I know there's quite a bit of foreign interest in that one again this year, with teams looking to come over and compete as they do. They use it as their own preparation for events coming up. And that sits about 1 month or so ahead of the British Championships in April in London, where, again, as you said, a lot of these athletes are going to focus their attention to try and produce their very best performances. And so right now it's about training. That has to carry on, but also about making sure you are getting some long course race practice in to test where you're at and also practice your strategies or skills that you've been working on in the real situation, so you can adjust them going forward.
As a coach, you will have been in this position yourself, but is it difficult kind of keeping swimmers focus at times on, the here and now and maybe the next competition, be it Edinburgh International, be it Bucks, be it the McCullum meet, when you've got, snags or you've got the British Championships 2 months down the line and that's, the real target? Is it difficult having that kind of more immediate focus when that's always kind of in the background?
With the more experienced and teenage athlete, I don't think so. I think they're quite good at knowing where their key meets are and how they keep their focus for it. I think with younger athletes who are maybe just breaking through, or your age group is at the bottom end of what we call the age group section. I don't mean they're just kids who are brand new into swimming club at 8 years old, but maybe those around 11, 12, 13, it is harder for them to see the longer view, certainly the multi-year view, but even just the competitions that are further ahead in the year, and maybe that's fine. They just like to go from one meet to the next and see how they go, and they'll take advice from their coaches and parents and things like that when maybe the slightly more important ones come up. But I don't think that's a worry. It's just part of your development. But the more experienced swimmers, they're certainly good. I think they're good at keeping their focus on what they're there for. However, the harder bit sometimes is, and it's not an excuse, but it's just life we have to deal with here. January and February in the UK, it tends to be not the greatest of months weather-wise. It's people, the Christmas and festive period is over. People are not coming back down to their work. There can be a few illnesses going around. You wanted to get to that spring period, and the summer period, you're looking forward to that, but you still got that kind of winter months to get through. School pressures are mounting up. Exam students are being given essays that they've got to prepare, and dissertations are getting to their final phases. And you've got all that going on.
Of course.
People I think they retain their focus, but there's a lot of stuff other than that going on, which they also have to deal with as well. So
yeah, it's that understanding, isn't it? That it's swimming's not the only thing going on in people's lives. There's lots of other bits as well, even right at the top end when you're maybe on an Olympic pathway and things. There's still illness. There's still family stuff going on, and that'll always be there. But the focus in the pool can be something that actually takes you away from the kind of outside pressures, isn't it?
Yeah, and what you do see is where it's possible, and some people find it more easily to arrange than others, but we have got quite a few clubs and teams who will use this period around half term in February to go away on a training camp. And especially maybe they're using it to prepare younger swimmers for the Scottish Age Group Championships, or the older ones for the British Championships. We have got people away at the moment in Europe, in Lanzarote and Torremolinos and Tenerife, those kind of places. People are looking for get away, get a week or 10 days of nice warmer weather, outdoor training, a break from the school and normal life, and you can get that extra focus in at this time of year for that kind of thing. We've had some of the more perhaps elite athletes have already been away at altitude training camps in January. Some of the Edinburgh swimmers in particular have done that, and some of them will do that again in May time, I think. So, yeah, the people who do also use it if they can get the opportunity to get away. That can be a handy thing to help get through this period of time.
Yep, preparations are certainly well underway, aren't they? And I think trials will be here before we know it. It's already kind of only sort of 2 months away, and by the time we get through Bucks and the Edinburgh International and things, it'll be here quickly. So lots to look forward to. And on that note, obviously there's teams to be made in the summer, isn't there? There's the World Championships team, which is main senior team and the primary goal for a lot of athletes on Scottish programmes. But there's also opportunities kind of for slightly younger athletes as well, isn't there, with the European Junior Championships, which is a regular fixture on the calendar in the summer, and the return of the European Under-23 meet, which we saw for the first time in 2023. This time both been held in the same place, which is positive to see. What's your kind of thoughts on that, Ian? Definitely lots of opportunities this summer for Scottish swimmers.
Yeah, a little bit like 2023 was a busy event year. 2025 is also a busy event year. World Champs obviously the big aim for the top athletes, including the para swimmers. Also got a World Championships that they're aiming for a little bit later in the season. Mm-hmm. The divers as well, because it's the World Aquatics Championships. So they'll hopefully be there as well. But as you say, there are quite a number of other things that athletes can target this year. The Under-23 Europeans being a prime one of those, perhaps that's the people who might just miss out on the World Championships, but they're on that kind of upward track. I think there's likely to be about 20, team size for that is going to be about 20. Swimmers will be exposed to that one. Like I say, just ahead of the European Junior Championships, where I'm sure there'll be another 20 or 30 athletes qualify for that. And then some of those ones will go on, based on the performances there, will go on to be selected for the World Junior Championships a little bit later. There's also, I'm not sure if there's, definitely there's something getting involved in it yet, but there is a World University Games taking place, which I believe some of the divers will go to as well. And sometimes that's been a beneficial event for swimmers to go to at the same time. That's in Germany. So yeah, it's one of those years where there's a lot of opportunities, and again, not just for the athletes, but it's an opportunity for more coaches to get involved in things and gain more experience for themselves if they do fortunate enough to get selected to be part of these things. So,
and on the back of an Olympic and Paralympic year where people might have dropped out of the sport and new faces come in, that there are those opportunities, aren't there? And the World Championship teams, be it the diving, swimming or the para team, there are opportunities because people have retired from the sport and have maybe moved away.
Yeah, and that happens domestically, but yeah, it can be an opportunity globally, because there's some of the big names post Olympics. They like to have a bit of a down year or take a longer break, and they might even already have said, well, I'm not going to go to World Championships this year, but I will be back later. Just to take, I think it's really not necessarily because they need the physical break, but I think sometimes they're looking for that kind of just the mental refreshment, that not having to focus on that again can come. So yeah, there is a bit of that happens, and that can lead to opportunities for other people to jump into. And then when the key to sport and life, isn't it? It's like when opportunities are presented to you, it's the people who take advantage of them that succeed. That's what you've got to do when the door is open. You've got to walk through it. So
100%.
Don't miss your chance. That's what we always talk to the athletes about. Here's a moment for you to really go for it.
Since the last time we had you on the podcast, Ian, there's been the positive news around about the Commonwealth Games, that it will definitely be in Glasgow, and it's definitely happening. And that's an opportunity like we we're speaking about for a lot of Scottish swimmers. Definitely positive news, and I think in the past week there's been the confirmation round about the medal programme, and the introduction of the men's 800 metres freestyle and the women's 1500 metres freestyle, and confirmation round about kind of para events as well. So really, really, really positive, and great that we're seeing some progress around about the games as well.
Yeah, that's fantastic news for the Commonwealth movement, but particularly for sport and swimming in Scotland, and certainly in Glasgow on top of that. It's really an opportunity, a galvanising moment to bring people together again and create excitement and energy around the sport, which hopefully will engage more interest, which then you hope will last and inspire people to get involved or stay involved for longer themselves. So lots of opportunities coming that way with that. Lots of opportunities for volunteers to get involved again in that. And preparations are beginning to ramp up a bit now. We've gone through a bit of uncertainty and waiting around time to find out exactly what the story was. We knew it was coming, but we didn't really have a lot of detail around what it's going to look like. But we do have that information now. It's just the 10 sports, it's just the 4 venues in Glasgow. It's quite a condensed games and environment, but the swim meet will still be the same swim meet. They'll still have the same number of countries, the same number of athletes taking part in it. In fact, there's slightly more events, as you just alluded to, the extra distance race and a couple of extra para races in the programme as well. So the para events is a selection of those. It's not all the para events, but it will be a great opportunity for some of our Scottish leading para swimmers to be part of the games again, and that'll become a major focus. So, yeah, our work on that is really just beginning in earnest now. We have what's called the general selection policy from Commonwealth Games Scotland in place. We're now working on the sport-specific policy for swimming in the coming weeks, and we'd like to try, there's a little bit of backwards and forwards to be done on that to make sure we get everything right, and we consult with people, but we'd like to get that out sometime in the spring, so that the athletes and coaches can see what it's going to take to qualify Scottish people to the team. Hopefully, we might be able to get a few more places with it being home games this time around. That's the hope, but also we want to make sure the standards are high. We're not going to relax the standards just because it's a home games. We still want to be up there fighting for the places in the finals and then chasing the medals. So, watch out for more information coming along in the not too distant future for that.
No, I think what you're saying is really, really good, and I think there should be positivity around about the swimming element of the games, and even though the games itself there's going to be less sports and less events in general. Actually, the swimming programme will be as big as normal. It'll be as competitive as normal, and it's in a world class venue of Tollcross that held the games so well in 2014. So lots to be excited about from that perspective, and hopefully a really big Scottish supporting crowd, and that experience that can be quite transformational for young athletes coming through the sport at the minute, just as it was for the likes of a Katie Shanahan or people like Duncan Scott that were on the very first on their first teams in Glasgow. So it's such an exciting prospect, isn't it?
It is one of the it's kind of a challenge, but also just a question we posed to the coaches and the athletes. Who will be the next new Scottish swimmer to win a medal who's not ever won one before? Whether it be in a relay or an individual race, who'll be the next new person? Hopefully Duncan, likes of him, he'll come to Glasgow and he'll be in chance with a number of medals again. Hopefully, be looking to add to his already impressive total.
Mm-hmm.
But who will be the next person to come through and grasp that opportunity and take a medal for Scotland at the Games who's not got one before? That's what interests me.
Absolutely. And you'll be starting to look at the permutations and what a team could potentially look like as well. So lots of excitement. I guess what sort of lastly before we wrap up, what would you say to people that are maybe targeting being on a Commonwealth Games team for Scotland that haven't been on a team before and have that kind of carrot dangling in front of them? What would your suggestion be to them at this moment in time, as we're still 18 months or so out from the Games?
I don't think you have to do too much to inspire them, as they all want. You can tell they all want it because they talk about it. They want to be. They want to be there. They want to be part of it, and it's something they're all going after, and they know it's coming. I suppose they'll be more interested a little bit once the exact selection policy is out there and they know exactly what they need to do to have a chance. And then some will probably find themselves like already in the kind of just maintain their form. There'll be others who are like just outside of where they need to be. And I suppose the message to them is like, well, you've got to really be consistent with your training, have really good conversations with your coaches and your support team as to what it is you need to do to find a way to make those improvements to make it. And it's more, you're hoping that they're looking at it at a deeper level than saying, I just want to improve my turns, I want to make my freestyle and pull better. You've got to. I suppose the message from me is like you've got to look at it in a bit more depth.
Yeah.
And get to understand exactly where you are, because it's a professional world now, and it's a more advanced world technology-wise compared. The knowledge that is out there now is knowledge that is much more accessible now than it was just a number of years ago. So if you're not taking advantage of that, you're going to be behind the curve. So that'll be one of the messages, and also saying, dream big. If you might not think you're quite there yet, and there might be people ahead of you in the queue in your event, but there's nothing stopping you. Dream big and go for it, and you never know what might happen. There's put the fire in someone's belly and the motivation there, and sometimes there's no stopping them.
No, absolutely. And with that selection policy coming out, in the coming months, it will give people the opportunity, a year out from what will be a trials event to really see what they need to do, be it in one event, be it in two or three, and really focusing on that target and have it as that goal to represent Scotland at a kind of historic home games. It's an amazing opportunity for people, and like you say, it won't need drummed into them too much. I think swimmers understand that's how special that opportunity is.
Yeah, these can be career-defining moments or career-changing, life-changing moments just by being part of a team. Not just the experiences you get from being on the team, but also the doors and opportunities that can open up for you in the future that wouldn't otherwise come your way. So, again, it's about being there, but also using these things to take the opportunity for the future. So we want to get as many people into that position as we can. But there will be a limit on how many we're allowed to have on the team. We'll be picking the team. It's likely the selection policy will mean the team is picked and finished probably in April in 2026, whenever the British Championships are. That'll be the main avenue onto the team, and then it's we just remember it's a nomination to CGS. not a
who then
select
select the team.
It's, we nominate the athletes who the Commonwealth Games Scotland, and they hopefully approve the names. And it is a CGS team that goes to the event.
But thanks, Ian. Really appreciate your time on that, and I'm sure we'll catch up again before the British Championships, where we can look into that a little bit in more detail at some of the top races and some of our athletes that will be performing there as well. So thanks, Ian, and I'll speak to you soon.
Yeah, thank you, Charlie, and all the best, and look forward to the next time.
Thanks again for listening to the Aqua Pod, and to Ian for appearing on the podcast once more. If you enjoyed the podcast, please leave us a review on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or on YouTube. But until next time, thank you very much.